Hello, amazing English learners. Welcome back to English Tales Time. Today we have a truly inspiring story for you. The life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. His journey for justice and equality is not only a vital part of history but also a powerful lesson in courage and perseverance. This video will guide you through his remarkable life, from his early days to his lasting impact on the world. Before we dive in, here are a few tips to help you make the most of this listening practice. Listen actively. Try to catch key words and phrases that are repeated throughout the story. They can help you understand the main points. Pause and repeat. Don't hesitate to pause the video and repeat what you've heard. This will help you improve your pronunciation and retention. Take notes. Write down new vocabulary and any important dates or events. This will help reinforce what you've learned. Engage with the content. Think about the questions we ask and try to answer them yourself. This will make the story more interactive and engaging. Stay positive. Remember, it's okay if you don't understand everything on the first try. Keep practicing and you'll see improvement over time. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by the incredible story of Martin Luther King Jr. Let's start this journey of learning and discovery together. Who was Martin Luther King Jr.? Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia in the United States. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., was a pastor and his mother, Alberta Williams King, was a teacher. They taught him the importance of education, faith, and justice. Martin grew up in a time when people were treated differently because of the color of their skin. This was called segregation. For example, African Americans could not eat in the same restaurants or sit in the same parts of buses as white people. As a young boy, Martin was curious and loved to learn. He often asked questions about why the world was so unfair. His parents told him to always stand up for what is right, but to do it with love and kindness. When Martin was a teenager, he decided he wanted to make the world a better place. He worked hard in school and skipped 2 grades, entering college when he was only 15 years old. He studied sociology and later went to seminary to become a pastor, just like his father. After finishing college, Martin Luther King Jr. continued to study. He earned a PhD in theology from Boston University in 1955. During this time, he met Coretta Scott, a talented singer and activist. They got married and became a team working together to fight for civil rights. In 1954, Martin became a pastor at a church in Montgomery, Alabama. He used his role as a leader to speak about justice, equality, and the power of nonviolence. His speeches inspired people to believe in a future where everyone could live in harmony, no matter their race. In December 1955, something happened that changed Martin's life forever. A woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white man. She was arrested, and this sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, a movement to end segregation on public buses. Martin was chosen to lead this boycott. For over a year, African Americans in Montgomery refused to ride buses. They walked, carpooled, or found other ways to travel. This was not easy, but Martin's leadership kept the movement strong. Finally, in 1956, the Supreme Court ruled that segregation on buses was unconstitutional. This victory showed Martin and others that change was possible through peaceful protest. Martin's leadership during the Montgomery bus boycott proved that he was ready to guide the civil rights movement. The success of the Montgomery bus boycott made Martin Luther King Jr. a national leader in the fight for civil rights. He believed in using peaceful protests to challenge unfair laws and inspire change. Martin became the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, an organization dedicated to achieving equality for African Americans. During the 1960s, Martin led many marches and protests across the United States. One of the most famous was the Birmingham Campaign in 1963. In Birmingham, Alabama, African Americans faced extreme segregation and violence. Martin and his supporters organized peaceful protests to demand change. The protests were met with aggression. Police used dogs and fire hoses against the demonstrators. Martin was even arrested and wrote his famous letter from Birmingham jail, where he explained why peaceful protests were necessary. He wrote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Later that year, Martin helped organize the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Over 250,000 people gathered at the National Mall in Washington, D.C., to demand equal rights. This was where Martin gave his most iconic speech, "I have a dream. I have a dream that one day little black boys and girls will join hands with little white boys and girls as sisters and brothers." His words were powerful and inspiring, spreading a message of hope and unity. Through his peaceful methods, Martin showed that words and actions, not violence, could bring real change. The speech Martin Luther King Jr. delivered at the March on Washington on August 28, 1963, is one of the most famous in history. Standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, Martin spoke to a crowd of over 250,000 people. The speech wasn't just for those present, it was for the entire world. In his speech, Martin painted a picture of a better future. He dreamed of a world where everyone, regardless of the color of their skin, would be treated equally. He used powerful imagery and repetition, saying "I have a dream" multiple times to emphasize his vision. "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin but by the content of their character." This speech was more than words. It was a call to action. It inspired millions of people to believe in change and to work together for justice. The phrase "I have a dream" became a symbol of hope and the fight for civil rights. What made this speech so powerful was not just the words but the way Martin delivered them. His voice was filled with passion and his message was clear and universal. People of all races and backgrounds could feel the power of his dream. Martin Luther King Jr.'s leadership and peaceful protests brought significant changes to the United States. One of his greatest achievements was the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a landmark law that ended segregation in public places and banned discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. This victory didn't come easily. Martin and his supporters faced countless challenges, including arrests, threats, and acts of violence. Yet they remained committed to nonviolence, believing that peace was the only way to create lasting change. Martin's work earned him global recognition. In 1964, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, becoming the youngest person to receive it at the age of 35. In his acceptance speech, he said, "I accept this award on behalf of all men who love peace and brotherhood." The prize was not just a personal achievement. It was a symbol of hope for millions of people fighting for equality. After the Civil Rights Act, Martin continued his efforts, focusing on issues like poverty and voting rights. He helped lead the Selma to Montgomery marches in 1965, which highlighted the need for fair voting laws. These marches led to the Voting Rights Act of 1965, another significant step toward justice. Despite the great progress made, Martin Luther King Jr.'s life was tragically cut short. On April 4, 1968, Martin was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, while standing on the balcony of his hotel. His death was a great loss to the world, but his legacy lives on. In the days after his death, people across the United States and around the world mourned the loss of a great leader. However, Martin's message of love, equality, and nonviolence continued to inspire many. His dedication to justice did not die with him. One of the greatest ways to honor Martin's memory is through the Martin Luther King Jr. Day, celebrated every year on the third Monday in January. This national holiday celebrates his life and reminds people of the importance of continuing the work he began. Even after his death, Martin's influence remained strong. His work led to many more important changes, including the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which banned discrimination in housing. His vision of equality and his commitment to nonviolence helped shape the future of the civil rights movement. Martin's legacy also lives on in the King Center, a memorial in Atlanta dedicated to his life and work. The King Center continues to promote his values of peace, justice, and equality, ensuring that future generations will know his story and his dream. Martin Luther King Jr. showed the world that even in the face of hardship, love and justice can lead to powerful change. His dream of a better, more equal world continues to inspire us today. Although Martin Luther King Jr. is primarily remembered for his work in the United States, his influence reached far beyond the country's borders. His commitment to nonviolence and equality inspired civil rights movements across the globe. From South Africa to India, Martin's philosophy of peaceful protest and social justice resonated with people fighting against oppression and inequality. In South Africa, leaders like Nelson Mandela looked to Martin's example when leading the struggle against apartheid, a system of racial segregation that discriminated against Black South Africans. Mandela often spoke of Martin Luther King Jr. as a model of nonviolent resistance and equality, especially in his own pursuit of freedom for all South Africans. In India, Martin's advocacy for peace and justice was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, who pioneered nonviolent resistance to British colonial rule. Martin and Gandhi shared a common belief that nonviolence could overcome oppression. In fact, Martin Luther King Jr. visited India in 1959 to study Gandhi's methods and brought those teachings back to the United States. Martin's approach to justice was not just for one race or nation. It was for all people. His work has inspired countless activists, leaders, and organizations worldwide to continue fighting for human rights, freedom, and equality. Today, his teachings are seen in movements for gender equality, LGBTQ+ rights, and refugee protection, among many others. Martin's legacy lives on not only through the work he did but also through the actions of the many people he inspired. His dream is a global dream, one that continues to shape the world today. While Martin Luther King Jr.'s life was tragically cut short, his work and vision for a just world live on in each of us. The question now is, how can we continue the dream? How can we, as individuals and communities, contribute to the world that Martin dreamed of? One way we can keep Martin's dream alive is by following his example of nonviolent action. In our everyday lives, we can choose peace over violence, understanding over hatred, and unity over division. Whether it's standing up against discrimination, helping those in need, or simply being kind to others, every small action counts. Additionally, education plays a critical role in continuing the fight for equality. By teaching others about Martin's work and the importance of civil rights, we can inspire future generations to carry the torch. It's important to talk about his vision of equality not just in classrooms, but in our communities, homes, and workplaces. Another powerful way to continue Martin's work is through voting. Martin fought tirelessly for the right to vote because it gives people the power to influence change. Voting ensures that our voices are heard, and it allows us to take part in shaping a society that reflects justice, equality, and fairness for all. Martin Luther King Jr. taught us that we are all responsible for building a just world. The dream of equality is not something that was achieved once and for all. It is something that must be worked toward every day. As we reflect on Martin Luther King Jr.'s extraordinary life, we are reminded that his work is far from finished. His dream of a world where people are judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, is still a vision worth striving for. However, it is up to each of us to carry that dream forward. Martin showed us that change is possible, but only if we are willing to act with love, courage, and integrity. The struggles Martin faced were not easy, and the road to justice has never been smooth. Yet his ability to inspire change through peaceful protest and unwavering commitment to equality should encourage us all. Whether in our local communities or on the global stage, we all have a role in shaping the world Martin dreamed of. So, take a moment to think about how you can contribute. What can you do today to make the world a little more just, a little more peaceful, and a little more equal? Whether it's speaking out against injustice, helping others in need, or simply listening with an open heart, every action counts. Remember, Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream is not just his. It's ours too. It's a dream we must all continue to build together. If you enjoyed this story and want to keep improving your English in a fun and inspiring way, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here at English Tales Time, we bring exciting stories, life lessons, and new vocabulary to help you practice your listening and gradually expand your vocabulary. Book Sparkles, turn on the bell so you never miss an update. And if you're enjoying our content, give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends who are also learning English. Let's embark on this learning journey together. See you in the next video.